Okay, let's take a demonstration look at Chapter 5, Part 2 homework and how you might want to go about doing it. We also have a similar problem on the exam, so this is very important that you know how to do this. All right, to calculate out how much total FUTA and SUTA that the employer owes, have to look at each employee and have they passed the FUTA maximum, have they passed the SUTA maximum. So we're going to have a demonstration that is similar to Chapter 5, Part 2, but I have less names here. Okay, so for Robert, this is quarter 1, which is January, February, and March. That's his gross wages for all 3 months. Then we have quarter 2, their gross wages, quarter 3, and quarter 4. So this isn't working on a paycheck by paycheck, but it's looking at the whole quarter at one time in a very similar way that you would to paychecks. I also have these columns called cumulative quarter 2. So that's going to be quarter 1's gross wages plus quarter 2's gross wages. So technically that's the ending cumulative because it's after the end of quarter 2 cumulative gross wages. And I have cumulative quarter 3 and cumulative quarter 4. If there's a number that's above the maximum in cumulative 2, then I'll have to use the previous quarter's cumulative to calculate out how much is taxable for FUTA or SUTA. Okay, so let's take a look and get started on this. So for the first quarter, we don't have a cumulative column because the gross wages for the first quarter are the cumulative for the end of the first quarter. So if we take a look at Robert, he has $1,500. That's well below the maximum. So all of Robert's FUTA is taxable. All of his gross wages are taxable for FUTA. Also, the South Carolina SUTA maximum is $14,000, which is even more. So all of his wages are taxable for SUTA as well. Now, Daniel has $15,000. That's well over the maximum, and so only the maximum will be taxable for FUTA, so we can put in the $7,000. Now, he is over the maximum also for SUTA. SUTA's maximum is $14,000, so only the $14,000 is actually taxable for SUTA, so he has $1,000 of gross wages that are not taxable even for SUTA. Also, at this point, Daniel is done. We're done on Daniel. The employer is not going to have to pay any more FUTA past this quarter or SUTA. So we can go ahead if we want to and put in zeros for FUTA and SUTA for Daniel all the way across to the other quarters. Now Ruth is $2,500, and that's well below the maximum, so all of Ruth's wages are going to be taxable for both FUTA and SUTA. Harry K is $10,300. That is over the FUTA maximum, so we'll use the FUTA maximum as being his taxable wages for FUTA. But he's still underneath the SUTA maximum, so all of his gross wages are taxable for SUTA. Mavis is $1,600, which is well below the maximums, so all of her wages are taxable. Arthur didn't get hired until the second quarter, so Arthur has 0 wages, so of course there's nothing taxable. Okay, so now I have the FUTA taxable wages all add up to $19,600, and I'm going to multiply that by the FUTA rate, which is 0.006, and that's $117.60. That's how much is due to the IRS from the employer for FUTA. Now, since it's less than 500, we don't need to send that in yet. If we want to, we can send it in on April 30th. But if we want to, since it's less than 500, we can wait and send it in at a later date. Now, for SUTA, we have totaled up all the taxable wages for SUTA. That's $29,900. We're going to multiply that times the SUTA rate for this company is 0.028. So that's $837.20. And that will be due on April 30th. There's no waiting with the SUTA. You have to send it in along with your form on April 30th. Okay, let's go to the second quarter. And we have the cumulative, the ending cumulative. So we're going to add the quarter 1 plus the quarter 2. So here we have 6,000. Now, since the 6,000 is still well below FUTA maximum, or SUTA maximum, all of the whole 4,500 is going to be taxable for both FUTA and SUTA. Now, for Daniel, we have a cumulative of 31,000. Which is way above the maximum. We see that in quarter 1, we hit the maximum on both FUTA and SUTA, and that we've already put in zeros here, so we don't need to do anything further. For Ruth, we had 2,500 and 2,400, so that's 4,900. Of course, that's still below the maximum, so all of Ruth's quarter 2 wages, all 2,400, will be taxable for FUTA and SUTA. For Harry, he had 10,300 and 11,500 from this quarter. That's 21,800. Now that's above the maximum. So we go back and see what quarter 1, we hit the maximum on FUTA. Okay, so we already hit the maximum. We can go all the way across and put zeros in for FUTA. Now for SUTA, back in the first quarter, we did not yet hit the maximum. We had 10,300. So we have 14,000, and we subtract the 10,300. That's 3,700 left to go to hit the maximum. So out of his 11,500 of this quarter, 3,700 is going to be taxable for SUTA, and the rest is not taxable. We've now hit the maximum, so for quarter 3 and quarter 4, we can now put in 0 for SUTA. For Mavis, we had 1,600, now we got 1,700, so that's 3,300 total. That's well below the maximum, so all of Mavis's quarter 2 wages of 1,700 will be taxable for FUTA and for SUTA. Now Arthur, he had 0 the first quarter, 800 the second quarter, so that's a total of 800 ending cumulative. That's way below the maximum, so all 800 is taxable for FUTA and SUTA. Okay, so my total taxable wages for FUTA is 9,400. I multiply that times 0.006, and that's $56.40. Okay, I can take the 117.60 and the 56.40 and add them together. That's $174. Okay, total that I owe FUTA yet. And it's still, I don't have to give it yet because it's still under $500. I can go ahead and pay it now on July 31st if I want to. Otherwise, I can wait again. Now for SUTA, we have 13,100 times 0.028, and that's 366.80. And that is due on July 31st. Okay, for cumulative, ending cumulative for quarter 3, we take cumulative from quarter 2 and add quarter 3. So we now have 11,000 and 31,000 plus 15,200, 46,200, and we have 4,900 plus 26 is 7,500. Here we have 21,800 and 12, 33,800, and here we have 3,300 and 1,800, and that's 5,100, and here we have 8 and 18, so that will be 2,600. Okay, so now we can take a look at these. Robert is now over the maximum, so I have to go back to the previous quarter's cumulative. So at that point he had 6,000. So I take the maximum 7,000 minus the cumulative 2, which was 6,000. So he only had 1,000 to go on FUTA. So out of his 5,000, 1,000 is taxable for FUTA and the other 4,000 is not. He's now reached the maximum for FUTA. I can stick a 0 in for the 4th quarter. For SUTA, the 11,000 is still below the maximum, so all of his 5,000 from this quarter is taxable. Okay, for Daniel, we already have our zeros in. Let's go down to Ruth, has 7,500, which is a little bit over the maximum for FUTA. So we go back to cumulative 2, that's 4,900. So I take the 7,000 minus the 4,900, there's 2,100 left to hit the maximum. So out of the 2,600, 2,100 is taxable for FUTA. Now, the ending cumulative for quarter 3 is still underneath the South Carolina maximum, so all 2,600 will be taxable for SUTA. We know that Harry's already 0, so we go to Mavis, and Mavis is now 5,100, which is still below the maximum, so all Mavis's 1,800 will be taxable for both FUTA and SUTA. And the same for Arthur, all of his 1,800 will be taxable for FUTA and SUTA. We take our FUTA taxable wages of 6,700 times 0.006, and that's $40.20. And here we have 11,200 times 0.028. That's $313.60. It's due on October 6th. Now for FUTA, we had $174 that we owed before, plus this $40.20. That's $214.20. Oopsie. $214.20. Okay, so that's still below the 500, and so we could wait again. Now, assuming that we're still going to be below the 500 when we get to quarter 4.